Hi, and welcome to Honors Biology class. Here we are in our remote learning environment. So why are you here? Well, this is a required course. You just happen to choose the honors version. So why else are you here? And what are we going to do in our remote existence for the foreseeable future? Well, you're going to learn scientific terms. Biology usually runs over 450 terms that you need to master by the end of the year. And we're going to teach you concepts. Some are pretty straightforward, but some, like DNA replication, are complicated. And so we have to take it apart, understand the different steps within the process, and then put it all back together so we can understand the implications of the bigger idea. We want you to become scientifically literate. Listen carefully to what's being said, pay attention to the news, read articles, and consider the data. What is the data telling us? And are the conclusions we're reaching and the decisions we're making consistent with that data? And that means you're learning to think like a scientist, which is very important, especially in this day and age. We want you to appreciate the natural world. We've been in isolation for so long. Most of you have had a chance to go outside and walk around. And you've probably passed a tree. And you've looked at it, maybe you've noticed it. Maybe it's like, oh, it's cool in the shade. I think I'll go sit under the tree. Or maybe you just take trees for granted. By the end of this year, I'm hoping that when you look at a tree, there's all these questions and ideas coming into your mind, like, how are leaves like solar panels? And why are these leaves shaped this way? Why do certain trees have a certain shaped leaf and others don't? How does a tree grow? What happens when the wind comes and pushes the tree? How does the tree resist, or does it resist? And why do some trees always tip over in a storm and others don't? And how does carbon dioxide get taken from its gaseous state in the air and reimagined or repurposed to make wood? How does that happen? And why, when you burn wood, do you get heat and light? Where did that come from? So these are the kind of questions that I love thinking about as I walk in nature. And I'm hoping that by the end of this, you'll share my enthusiasm for the natural world. So in our Zoom sessions every week for the foreseeable future, what's that going to look like? Well, we'll start off with housekeeping. I want to keep things as close to the way we had them in person as possible. I just think it makes mental health sense. So we'll start with housekeeping. You know, what's due, what's coming up, any other issues or questions people have in the beginning. And then there'll be a brief introduction to what are we going to do today. It might be a lecture, too bad for you, or it might be individual or group activity. So that will be a majority of the time. And then towards the end of our Zoom session, we'll come back together. We'll do a wrap up. We'll do a check-in. There are any last minute burning questions, clarifications. We'll take care of it then until the next session. So how am I going to be graded? It's like how we are, right? We've been trained that way. Well, there will be OCAs. Those are outside class assignments. If you've ever heard any of my students talk, they always talk about OCAs. And these are questions that I've come up with that I'm going to ask you to answer. And part of the OCAs will help you learn vocabulary and understand the interconnectedness of ideas and concepts. There will be individual and group projects. And again, I want to make those as similar as I can to what we've done in the past. So I'm working on that, have some ideas. We'll chat and share ideas and hopefully come up with some really innovative and exciting ways to do these things. And then there'll be tests and quizzes. How we're going to do that right now, not really sure. Teachers are worried about cheating and plagiarism and blah, blah, blah. If you were at UMass Amherst, what they do is they turn on the test at a certain time. You have to be sitting there facing your webcam, and they hire TAs to watch you to make sure you don't cheat. I'm not doing that. Okay. I'm not sure how we're going to do this, but we'll figure it out. Okay. There's going to be a lot of we'll figure it out in the beginning here. So, how are you expected to conduct yourself? The same way as if we were in person. You need to be respectful. You need to listen to each other. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You need to contribute, and you need to be considerate. You need to listen to what people have to say. You need to work safely. We're going to do some labs at home. Okay, I might do some videos. We might have some videos of labs and then discuss or provide class data from previous years. Not sure, but we're working on it, as they say. If we do have you do things at home and you don't have the supplies you need, you can email me. I'm happy to drive. I love driving in Boston. I'll drive in Newton too, although the roads in Newton are so bad compared to Boston. I don't know what's going on, but hey, it is what it is. I expect you to create honest products. That means not to copy or plagiarize other people's work and not to make up data. Now, honest products really means, what is your character? What is the content of your character? Are you an honest person? Are you an honest learner? Are you someone who's willing to risk making mistakes? Are you willing to just take risks to learn? Or are you someone that's too afraid and hides behind other people's work or makes up data because you're afraid you're going to get a bad grade? That's not good reasons. Okay? You want to be honest and straightforward in how you present your information and how you share it. So there are some certain skills that we hope to teach you over this period of time. One is time management. Absolutely critical. If you don't learn time management by the time you graduate from high school, college is not going to be pretty for you. So we're going to help you figure out how to do time management in this class. In the business world, it's all about meeting deadlines. If you don't meet the deadline at the end of the year, you probably won't get the 10 grand bonus that everybody else gets because they met their deadlines. We're going to teach you how to take data, organize it to reveal its patterns so that you can then present it and analyze it. And that's really the heart and soul of much of what we're going to do. The high point of the year for most of my students is learning how to write scientifically. Now, I don't have a pen and paper with me this year, like I have in the past, but I will figure out ways to edit your work. It needs to be concise, no fluff. I've had students write 2 pages of description of data, and by the time I finished editing, it was down to like 4 sentences. Okay? So I'm going to teach you how to not do fluff. You need to be precise, you need to be data-driven, and you need to correctly credit the people whose ideas you're using and putting forward in your work. Very important, because in the academic community, it's the ideas that you own, and so you need to receive credit for those. And we'll talk more about this as we progress and before you do your first formal lab. We want you to learn how to think critically by using facts. And if you do this, you will really be embracing the scientific discipline. So what are we doing for learning tools? We have our Zoom sessions, yay. We have Schoology, which I'll be using for calendars, assignments, assessments. We have the class wiki, and that has all the files, all the handouts, videos, study guide questions, everything. The nice thing about the class wiki is it's on a platform owned by an independent company. The wiki is backed up every 24 hours. It's never down. So if you're going for a weekend in Tahiti and you forgot and you're, OMG, I have an OCA due, what am I going to do? As long as you have internet access in Tahiti, you can download and do your work. It's a beautiful thing. We'll be using some other applications, Google Forms, which I think you're pretty familiar with. We'll start out with that. Um, I kind of like Padlet. I'm playing around with that. Gizmos, I'm not sure about. Mentimeter, we've already figured out how you can beat the system on that, so I'm not sure I'm going to do that. Flipgrid, I think we'll use for projects. And I'm interested in Nearpod. And then there's probably a lot of others that who knows. We're evolving and we're just using this opportunity to get better and better and to make learning a really exciting and rich experience. So if we were in person, now we're remote, you still have the same responsibilities. You need to contribute thoughtfully to the discussion, whether it's in the Zoom session and you're offering information, or it's you want to type something in the chat, or you want to email me. That's fine. You need to respect other people's and their opinions. It's their opinion, not yours. You don't know where they came from. You don't know their history. You don't know what they've gone through. You need to conduct yourself safely. Become a scientist. Do your work in a timely manner. If you're running out of time and you can't get things done, let me know. Please don't do it last minute. Ask for help and clarification beforehand, not at the 11th hour. That does not reflect well on you. And lastly, what do we know about learning styles? Well, people learn differently. Some people are what we call visual learners, some people are auditory learners, and some people have to manipulate things to learn about them. You are usually a combination of all three, but one is more significant than another for you. So decide which kind you are and then learn how to learn favoring that particular way. And that's about it for now. We'll see you in our Zoom session. I hope you're well, and I hope that we'll have a really exciting and fun year together.